Hi there and welcome again to our next chapter of Food Production Level 1. This time we're doing chapter number 5 and it's called Nutrition. See right there on the board, no, chapter number 5, Nutrition. Again, I'm using the background TV as a monitor. Why? Because I have the same thing on my tablet, and whatever I'm looking at, you can also see on the TV, so you know exactly where I am. Okay, so we're gonna do this chapter. It's a fairly short chapter. It's a beautiful chapter, a very interesting chapter, because nowadays a lot of people are very much concerned about nutrition. Okay, so we're gonna see a little bit into it right now. Again, this is a basic introductory chapter. It has a lot of information, but if you want more about this thing, you're gonna have to do a personal research by yourself, or you can ask me if you have direct questions. I'll do my best to answer you, or I will get an answer for you by doing a research myself for you. Why? Because I believe this is a topic that keeps growing every day. It's very interesting, and we all learn whenever we have questions. Okay, it's not just for you or for everybody else. It's also for me. Okay, so let's see what we can make out of this chapter, and let's make the best out of it. Okay, nutrition. It says here, menu planners must have a basic understanding of nutrition because the human body requires a variety of foods in order to function and be healthy. Okay, this is self-explanatory. The food service workers' responsibility to provide nutritious food and well-balanced menus depends in part on the operation. School and hospitals, food services must of course plan menus carefully to meet basic nutritional needs. A qualified dietitian is usually required in such establishments. Okay, let's talk a little bit about these types of establishments. A lot of people have a problem with fast food. But if you notice, fast food uses three basic components. They use a little bit of vegetables, they use a little bit of protein, and they use a little bit of starch. Okay, most fast food have those three components in them. So why are they not so good? Or why do they have such a bad reputation? Well, a lot of them, what happens is they use a lot of products that have been highly processed. And as a rule, there's a rule that says most highly processed products will also give you problems with your health in the later time. Okay, so that's why the more natural you eat, the better. Okay, and fast foods are well known to use products that have high concentrations of preservatives, colorings, and other stuff, fillers, and these are not entirely specifically organic or natural or good for your health. Okay, so that's why they have such a bad rap. But the three basic components work in all sectors. Also, if you have a regular restaurant, you should have on the plate a portion of vegetables, a portion of protein, which might be a meat, and a portion of starches. Okay, those three combined have to make up a regular normal plate. Okay, so the problem is a lot of countries have a very specific diet, and they vary greatly from one another. For example, I'm going to take two distinctive examples. If you look at China, not like Donald Trump, but if you look at China, they eat a lot of vegetables over there, a lot of fresh vegetables, and like a salad. They use them a lot. Bok choy, onions, carrots, cilantro, a lot of fresh vegetables. But if you look at India, they use a lot of spices. Not so many vegetables, but a lot of spices. Now, these people differ in chemical composition, meaning in what they have in their body, as a defense structure for example, diseases. If a disease strikes a country, it will strike different countries at different strengths depending on what they eat. Okay, for example, the more vegetables you eat, usually it might translate into the more building blocks you have as a defense for any type of diseases. Okay, especially if they're as natural as possible. Okay, so we're gonna read more about this in the chapter. It says here, nutrients. Nutrients are chemical compounds that are present in foods and fulfill one or more of the following functions. 1. They supply energy for the body functions. 2. They build and replace cells to make up body tissues. And 3. They regulate body processes. They just pronounce the three major bodily functions that have to work together. You cannot have two or just one of the three. Why? Because if you have only one, let's say you only have a nutrient that supplies energy to the body, eventually your body is going to come up short in what is, for example, body mass or protein or muscles. Okay, why? Because if you don't have, you have a lot of energy, but you don't have the products to rebuild your muscles, you will burn that energy and you will keep getting skinnier, skinnier, and skinnier. All you will get skinny on the inside, but have a lot of fat on the outside, and that's again out of balance. Okay, so these three things here, they must be in some kind of a tune, some kind of a balance between each other. You must have nutrients that supply energy. You must have nutrients that replace cells that make up body tissues, and you also have you need nutrients that regulate the body processes. Okay, so there are 6 categories of nutrients. Number 1 is the carbohydrates. Number 2 is the vitamins. Then you have the fats. Then you have the minerals, the proteins, and the last one is water. Okay, so let's talk about calories first. A definition of calorie here in the book says a calorie is a unit of measurement of energy. If it is defined as the amount of heat needed to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Okay, so the body uses carbohydrates, proteins, and fats to supply energy. Look, they put carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, okay, to supply energy. All right, there is a direct connection between the calorie intake, physical activity, and weight gain. These three go together. I'll explain it to you in just a moment. Simply put, if you consume more calories than you burn, you gain weight. If you consume fewer calories than you burn, you lose weight. All the diet schemes and fashions in the world, at least the ones that are medically sound, can be reduced to this. In other words, losing weight is possible only by eating fewer calories or by burning more calories through exercise, preferably both. Okay, there's a thin balance between how much you eat and how much you spend in energy. A lot of times you will see people who don't move that much, but they eat normally, but they still get fat. That means that whatever energy they're burning is very low, even though they don't eat much. All that they're eating, a little bit is going towards energy, and the rest is being transformed into fat in storage. And that's why people get obese. Okay, obesity actually is the body storing fat for later. But the problem is sometimes the body forgets that it has stored fat for later. Okay, but we have the blame for that, not the body. We have. Okay, so in order to lose weight while maintaining good nutritional health, one should avoid empty calories. Empty calories as much as possible, and eat primarily nutrient density. Empty calories would be like a bag of chips. It's only starch and salt. Okay, that would be an empty calorie. A nutrient density would be like a big salad. Why? Because that salad has all types of vitamins and minerals and copper, magnesium, and all those things. That's a nutrient dense food. Okay, so empty calories is a food that doesn't have many different types of nutrients in it, maybe 1 or 2. And the other one is just the opposite, has a whole different range of all the nutrients in it. Okay. Good. On the next pages, we have a whole list of nutrients that you can see here on the list. This is carbohydrates, you have fats, you have proteins, you have different kinds of vitamins and what they do. And then you have also some like folic acid, vitamin B12, very important. And this is the only one we only get through animal and dairy products. So it has to come from animal product. You cannot, otherwise you have to drink it by like a pill. But it comes from animals. And vitamin C, citrus fruits, tomatoes, potatoes. Vitamin D, we get it by exposure to sunlight. That's an easy one. And you have other ones like iron. We get like red meat, raisins, prunes, egg yolks, stuff like that. Okay, so the first one, if I have to explain carbohydrates, you have to look at it as pure energy. Carbohydrates, the simplest form of carbohydrates is sugar. Why? Because the moment you put sugar on your tongue, your body transfers it directly into energy. Okay? What happens is the body has a tendency to look for the easiest source of energy first. So in the morning, when you go to school and you eat that pastici and you drink that Coca-Cola or that Malta, the body will take the sugar from the Malta first and use it as energy. Then you get a sugar high till like, if you do it at 7:30, then you only get like until 9 o'clock you have a sugar high. And then after that, you will start to go into a sugar low. But that's no problem because you also ate the pastici. And the pastici, the white flour can be transformed into carbohydrates, into sugar. Okay? So your body can work onto that pastici and get some more energy. But in the meantime, you start feeling like you want to eat something again at 9 o'clock. You go into the cafeteria, you get another Coca-Cola and you drink it. And your body forgets about that pastici and he takes the sugar from the Coca-Cola and now you're in a sugar high again. Okay, what happens to the pastici? It goes to storage. You're somewhere over here, a little bit. For the ladies all around, but for the guys mostly here. Okay, so it gets stored, and then the body can forget that he stored the pastici somewhere. And especially if you have more than one pastici every day, then eventually you will keep storing and get bigger. Okay. Carbohydrates are the body's most important source of food energy. Fats and proteins can also be burned for energy, but body uses carbohydrates first. If no carbohydrates are available, the body then burns fat. However, if fats are burned with no carbohydrates present, toxic compounds called ketone bodies are produced. If too many ketone bodies accumulate, a condition called ketosis develops, and the blood becomes unable to carry oxygen properly. The result can be fatal. Okay, so you cannot eat only proteins and go on a diet only of proteins. It's actually you can, but it's dangerous. Okay, there is this diet. I'm not sure if it's called Atkins, but where they promote only eating all kinds of meat, no white stuff, so no flour, no rice, no pastici, nothing. And then you have a lot of protein, but you don't have that much energy. You only have proteins for the muscles. Okay, it's good for a short period, but on the long period, it can become dangerous. Okay, because it says here, if you keep burning proteins without having carbohydrates present, then you can have ketone bodies, and those are toxic compounds building into your blood, and that can build into ketosis, which is dangerous for your body. Another thing that can help losing weight is this thing called fiber. Now, your body does not digest fiber. You can eat as many fibers as you want. The way they go in is the way they go out. But the good thing about fiber is once it's inside your body, it attaches itself to lipids, to fats, to oils, and it helps your body get them out of your system. So actually, to be honestly and brutally honest, fibers are good for when you do number two, for your digestive system. Okay, if you don't have enough fiber in your system, you're going to be sitting on the toilet and making funny faces because there's not enough fibers to bring all that oil outside, so you're going to be constipated. Okay, so to do fibers is very good. The simplest form of fiber could be eating a banana, also oranges, watermelon, mangoes. They all have fibers in them. Okay, and when you eat them, it's good for your system. All right, so you have different kinds of fibers. Yucca also has fiber, but yucca's fiber is a lot rougher. A lot of people don't like to eat yucca either. But there's different kinds of fiber. And if you don't want to eat fiber in a vegetable, there's even fibers that come into a pill or fibers that come into a powder. You can just add them to anything you drink, and you drink it and you have fiber in your system. Okay, so fiber is good. Let's continue. Fats. Fats supply energy to the body in a highly concentrated form. The problem with fats is fats may be classified as saturated, monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated. These terms reflect chemical differences in the composition of fats. Okay, cooks do not need to know the chemical structure of fats, but they should understand their nutritional characteristics and the foods in which they are found. Many foods contain a combination of three types. For example, saturated fats are solid at room temperature, polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats are liquid at room temperature. Okay, so saturated fats might be the term of the most unhealthy fats that you can find around. These ones, you can find them a lot in, for example, You know those burgers that they sell at the Chinese supermarket, and they're red, they're very red. When you cook those, and there's this liquid on the bottom, you turn off the pan, and you let it cool. You're gonna see the whole bottom of the pan is gonna get white. That is lard. That is saturated pig fat. Okay, so that's very bad for your system. When you eat that, it goes into your body. If it reaches a place where the temperature is very, very low, it will also become white, just like in the pan, and that thing can clog some arteries here and there. So it's very bad for you to eat. On the other side, you have other types of fat, like you have olive oil, you have avocado oil, you have coconut oil. Those are the best ones to use, okay? Because your body not only uses them good, they're called good fats, but they don't clog your arteries either, okay? So those are the difference between saturated and monounsaturated fats. Another thing is trans fats. Maybe you've heard a lot about it. Trans fats is actually fats that the moment they reach a certain temperature, they start producing agents that can build cancer into the human body. Okay, so trans fats are not good for anybody. So if you have to, you should try to stay away from those kinds of products. The problem is some oils that we use become or into the category of trans fat when they get to a certain temperature. Like for example, corn oil, olive oil. You have to watch out for those. Okay. Good. You also have this thing called lipids. It's another name for fat. It's nothing, what do we say? Nothing fancy. It's just another name for fat. Another lipid found in the body is called cholesterol. The problem with cholesterol is the easy way to identify cholesterol, which is not good for your body, is anything you eat that has fat and has a mother, that is bad for you. Okay. So let's say you eat shrimp. Shrimp has fat. Does it have a mother? Yes. So that's bad cholesterol. How about a ribeye steak with a nice, slap of fat around it to give it flavor? Is it good or bad? Well, does it have a mother? Yes, then it's bad for you. How about an avocado that has a nice, beautiful avocado oil in it? Does it have a mother? No. Okay, so that's good fat. Okay, so that's how you see the difference between cholesterol, good fat or bad fat. You also have a couple of products that have this new type of omega fatty acids in them called omega 3 and omega 6, and that usually comes from fish products like shark bones, and if I'm not believe it, there's some plants that also have omega 3 and nuts. Okay, so omega 3 fatty acids are good because what they do is they rebuild cells, and people with cancer a lot of times they get prescribed large dosages of omega 6, omega 9 fatty acids for their cells. Okay, it helps put a small layer of defense against the cancer. Okay. Good. Let's talk about proteins. A lot of times people think, well, you know what? You go to the gym, and you after the gym you drink this protein shake, and that's gonna give you more strength to lift heavier weights and stuff like that. Okay, it's a misconception actually. Okay, what happens is this: why do people muscles get big when they go to the gym? It's actually a formation of what doctors call scar tissue. What happens is there is a saying in gym says no pain, no gain. And that is totally true. When you're doing weightlifting, a lot of times you will hear the weightlifters lifting a lot of weight and then suddenly they start screaming because they're in pain. What happens is, why are they in pain? Because when they're lifting all those heavy weights, they're breaking their muscles. And when they break their muscles, that produces a lot of pain. So what happens is, even though they have a lot of energy and they're breaking their muscles and they're in pain, after their exercise, what they'll do is they will take a protein shake. And this concentrated protein shake, what it will do is repair those broken muscles with new tissue. And that new tissue goes on top of the old tissue, and that's how you start building your muscles. So it's a whole layer and layer of rebuilding with scar tissue, and that's how you get that big. You see, some sporters like Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was young and he was doing this exercise, they would get special massage people that after their exercises, they would go and give them a very terrible muscle breaking massage. So this would be very painful, and this massager would just keep squeezing their muscles and breaking them one by one for them to get all that protein and rebuild it and get extremely big. And those were that was the old-fashioned way of getting big by lifting weights. Okay, so you don't eat a lot of sugar and get a lot of muscle. That doesn't work. You have to do a combination of energy, which is sugar, but after that, after lifting weights, after using your muscles, you have to rebuild it with more protein to get a bigger muscle. Okay, so why is it called whey protein then? The people drink whey protein. Well, actually, whey protein is two different products. It's whey and protein. The protein I've just explained for what it is, but the whey is something different. Scientists discovered that when you put whey into the human body, it will start, let's call it like this, dehydrating the body a little bit and giving the body more definition. So by using whey, you will see your muscles more and less of the fluid that's going around the muscles. So when they do whey protein, they're building the muscles, the muscles start showing, and the fluid around the muscles start, they keep it under a wrap, so you can start seeing definitions in the muscles. You can see suddenly a plump here, you know, you have a muscle growing here, there. That's because of the whey protein. Those are two things working to towards building a different kind of figure for your body. Whey protein. The flavor is different. They put that's just you know, vanilla, coffee, whatever they put. But the product itself is called whey protein. And you can get it in different forms. No? For example, if you just want the protein, you can use it by raw eggs. But the problem is you got to use a lot of raw eggs to get the same amount than using whey protein. Okay. So when you eat meat, you have all the proteins into that meat. So that's called complete protein. Okay, so all of them are into meat. But sometimes when you eat vegetables or some nuts or some mushrooms, they have most of the protein, but not all of them, especially the amino acids. And then they call that an incomplete protein. Then you got to eat more different kinds to be able to close that protein completely. Okay, so that's the difference between complete protein and incomplete protein. Now vitamins. Vitamins are present in foods in extremely small quantities, but they are very essential for regulating body functions. The problem with vitamins is the absorption of vitamin per person is different from one another. I may take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, but maybe only use a couple of grams, or maybe less. All the other one is going to go right through my kidney and I'll pee it away. Okay, but other people might absorb more. Okay, it has to do with your body. Alright, so vitamins, you can eat a lot of vitamins, but your body has to be trained for retaining that amount of vitamins that you're eating. Okay, and that only comes by eating a good diet, a healthy diet, eating at the correct time, not overeating and stuff like that. Okay, a lot of people can eat different kinds of food and thinking that, you know, if I eat this thing, I will lose some weight. But what you're doing is, because your body doesn't recognize it anymore, the body is gonna ask you for, hey, I don't want this, I want that burger. Okay, and when you go for the burger, you won't eat one, you eat two, because the body will see, like, you know, it's called a relapse, and you will see, like, you know, I missed that one, so I'm gonna add that one to this one, so I'm gonna have two, and then you get a lot bigger than you were in the beginning. So that's why starving yourself is a bad idea. Never do that. Okay, so water is also very, very important. It says here the adult human body is 50 to 60% water by weight. A lot of you haven't drunk not even a glass of water today. Think about it for a moment. You know how dangerous that thing is? Why? Because your body is high percentage water, and you keep losing water by sweating, by breathing. If you do in your hand, you can feel the moisture coming out of your breath. You lose fluids, you lose water. So how are you gonna refill those waters back into your body? You have to drink water, not soda, not anything else. Okay, a lot of people only drink Coca-Cola or sodas and juices, but you have to drink water. It's very essential for your body to function, to have enough water in the system. And you can never have too much, because the moment you have too much, you go to pee. Okay, so and you can also see, by the way, in the color of your pee. If it's very yellow, even like orange, that's not a good sign. That means that your pee is very toxic. It has a lot of bad stuff in it. The wider it is, the clearer it is, the better your system is running. Okay, so take care of the color of your pee. Drink a lot more water. Okay, balanced menus. It says here when you make a menu, you have to get adequate nutrients within calorie needs. I'm not gonna put 5 pieces of chicken with a little bit of rice because that would be like 4,000 calories and it would be off balance because you have this much protein and a little bit of starch like that. Okay, so it says here adequate nutrients with calorie needs. Manage the weight to maintain a healthy body. Balance the calories you consume with the calories you burn. Engage in physical activity. Do a little bit of gym, ride a bike, walk outside, do something. Okay, and then select from the high right food groups. No Chinese food, or reduce the Chinese food, reduce the fast food, and go for slow food. Okay, start eating at home. What else? What else? What else? Manage consumption of fats. Make sure you don't eat too much fat. That's not good for you either. When you're young, you can manage, but if you're older, just like me, it's not a good idea. Okay, you can feel it right away. Manage consumption of carbohydrates. Same thing. If you eat too much carbohydrates, your body will transform it into fat. So it's the same thing for us. Another thing is manage consumption of sodium and potassium. Why sodium and potassium? Okay, let's just use the first one. Sodium is bad for you because what sodium does is when it goes into your system, it closes your pores. You know, your little things you have on your skin, the little tiny holes, those are called pores. It closes them up. That's what sodium does. So if it closes them up, is that good or bad? That's bad. Because those are designed so when you get tired, you start sweating. And why do you sweat? Because when you sweat, when the air goes over your sweat, you start feeling cold. And that reduces your body temperature again to a normal level. So if your pore is closed and you start doing some kind of an exercise, you can't sweat or you sweat a lot less. What happens is your heart rate will keep going up and move blood towards the system because it's trying to cool it down, but there is not enough sweat coming out to cool it down. So your body rate will keep going up, and that's how people get a lot of times problems with blood pressure, okay? Because their hearts are beating too fast, they're not sweating enough, and that can send your body into a condition. And okay? So have to take care of that. The other one is potassium, and potassium is bad for your heartbeat. Too much potassium will stop your heart. Okay, so that's a bad part of potassium. You must have some, but not too much of it. Okay. You'll find a lot of potassium in stuff like how you call those things, like Gatorade and stuff like that. They have a lot of potassium. That's why whenever you are in an exercise and you stop doing your exercise and you drink your Gatorade, suddenly your heart rate goes down. You're like, oh, this felt good because no, that's the potassium in the Gatorade that's reducing your heart rate. Okay, you have to be cautious about it. Alcoholic beverages. People who choose to drink alcoholic beverages should do so sensibly. Why? Because alcoholic beverages are high in calories but provide few nutrients. Actually, no, which is mostly water, and sugar. Heavy drinking may cause a variety of serious diseases, and moderate drinking 1 or 2 drinks a day appears to do little harm and may in fact be of some benefit. What I mean with this is the French people drink wine every day. They drink about a glass, maybe a glass and a half of wine every day. And people in France do not die of any heart disease. They don't get heart attacks. And this has been proved, has been scientifically proved, that because of the wine they drink, by the way, that is natural wine, good type of wine. And I'm not talking about chemical like Boone's and stuff like that, nitrate. That's not a wine, that's pure chemicals. And because they drink this, the body uses it, if I have to compare it, like a fuel injector cleaner. Okay, so their system, their blood system is well tuned. It's no problems with it. People over there do not die of cardiac arrest. They die of old age. Okay, so that is the benefit they're talking about. Good. We continue. We go to the next page and they talk over there about, let me see. Let's continue. Using less fat in cooking. How much fat do you use to cook? as a testimony, I can tell you about some years ago, not many. I don't want to divulge so many years, but in the beginning, when I started, I ate a lot of fried food, a lot. Like almost everything I ate was fried, and that was not good. I got to about 290 pounds, and I had to do something about it. So I had to change the amount of oil that I was using to cook. I had to change the oil, the amount of oil, and using less of it. And nowadays I can say like a bottle of oil in my house, like a middle-sized bottle will go like maybe 2 or 2.5 months before I go through it. Okay, why? Because I don't cook that much with oil anymore. I stew, I use water, but I don't cook that much with oil. Okay, so it helps. I'm not skinny. I'm a little bit chubby still, but it helps to using less fat in cooking. Okay, you also have to reduce using unsaturated fats. So when you do use fats, try to substitute monosaturated, such as olive oil or canola oil, for saturated fats when appropriate. Okay, so if you can, use olive oil or canola oil instead of using pig lard and stuff like that, which is delicious. I'm not gonna lie to you, they're delicious, but they're not good for your system. You have to emphasize in flavor. A lot of people don't really, put an accent on flavor. Of course, they put a lot on salt. Latino people use a lot of salt, but you also have other flavors, like if you cook with cilantro, if you cook with garlic, if you cook with what else can you cook with, star anise, or different kinds of spices. You can highlight those instead of just highlighting the salt. Okay, using the freshest and highest quality foods possible that you can find, like spices and stuff like that. Try to go natural if you can. If you can't, choose the best quality you can get, and avoid those like. Oh, when I say this cheap brand is like out there you can find like chicken stock and beef stock in very cheap prices, and those are not really chicken or beef stock. They're mostly salt with a little bit of flavor. Okay, so you have to get something that's more in quality, might be a little more expensive, but you substitute the salt for real flavor. Okay, so that is that. Modify portion sizes. What they mean is, even in the States in the past, they used to have a problem with everything was super size, upsize, big size, multi size, jumbo size, and this brought a lot of people into problems with their health. So right now they're controlling the portions better. So you have a normal size meal. For example, 7-Eleven is not allowed to sell those big gulps anymore. The drinks that are like this, they're not allowed to sell them anymore. They're bad for people. So you give the customer a healthful choice. Train the dining room staff to identify what they're giving. So a lot of businesses, they focus on upselling. They want to sell only the most high products to the customer and make sure that you get the most money out of each one of them. But if you treat the customer with respect and explain to them, the lamb chops are good, but they're very fatty. But they're extremely good. If they haven't eaten like so much fat these days, this would be great right now because it would delight you with the taste. But I have to warn you, they're very fatty. So you talk to them and you talk to the customers, so they know exactly what they're eating. So they feel that you're not cheating them. You're not just giving them stuff because you want to upsell them. And use nutritional information. Okay, some companies have gone into this area. They post like for example a meal, how many calories goes into each one, and which ones are good, which ones are bad. And some companies, they like, especially fast food, they live with this. They have to explain everything that's on the menu, how many calories, how many fat, how many carbohydrates, etc., etc. Okay, so nutritional information. Then we reach for the terms for review, and if you look here, like everything we spoke about, which is the calorie, you have to know what is the empty calorie. Remember the bag of chips. The nutrient density, that's the bowl of salad. Carbohydrate, the simplest one called sugar. Ketone bodies, and ketosis is actually what happens when you burn proteins without having carbohydrates present. Fiber, your body doesn't need it, but it helps your body with number 2. You have different kinds of fiber. Soluble, meaning it absorbs water, and insoluble, like yuca, it doesn't absorb water. You have fat, and you have different kinds of fat. Fat is responsible for flavor, by the way. And you have saturated fat or monounsaturated, meaning that they're solid when they're in room temperature. Polyunsaturated and is liquid. Trans fat is actually carcinogenic, meaning it builds cancer agents whenever they get to a certain temperature. Then you have different other names for fats in the body called lipids and cholesterol. They're also not good for you. Well, you have good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. And I told you whenever you have cholesterol that had a mother, like a like a steak, that would be bad for you. If you had a fat from avocado, which is doesn't have a mother, that's good for you. Okay, so that's the difference. Omega-3 fatty acids are actually good nutrients for people who have problems with their health, like cancer patients or chemo patients. We spoke about protein. Those are building blocks for your muscles. Complete protein is any food that has all the protein already built in, which is most of the times animal protein. You have complementary proteins. That's when you have to eat more than one protein just to combine them together to get a complete protein. Vitamins are actually responsible for the functionality of your body. And you have different kinds of vitamins. For example, vitamin C for our defense against like a cold. You have vitamin D that you get through exposure of sunlight. You have vitamin B12 that you get for molecular structure that comes from animals. And then you have minerals. We didn't speak that much about minerals, but let me go back a little bit up and we'll see if we can get something about minerals. It says here, well, actually, let me explain it to you right away. Minerals are the stuff that's actually responsible for the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, the color of your skin. And you get more minerals in a lot of more natural stuff. Even in water, sometimes you can get minerals that will help you by, without that you don't get white hair so young, or that your eyes stay nice, colorful, and that comes in the water. But not all the water have it. For example, on Aruba, we use a system right now that has such a high filtration in it that they take everything out of the water. It's just water that's left, no minerals. So what they do is they make this water rain over some rocks to get a little mineral from the rock into the water again, and then they send that to the pipes that we use in our houses. Okay, but when you buy, for example, Fiji water actually is water that comes right down the mountain on the ground, and they catch it, they filter it a little bit, and then they put it into a bottle. So that water right there is packed with minerals, and that's why Fiji water is so expensive. Okay, so that's maybe only one of the waters in a bottle that I know that has a lot of minerals in it. Most of the other ones are just marketing deals, like Voss water. That's just water from New York in a glass bottle. There's nothing in it. Evian water, just filtered water. Aruba water, very high quality Aruba water, but the problem is very little minerals. But it's a very clean water, but it has very little minerals. Okay, so that's about minerals. And then LDL and HDL, those are doctor terms for when they go and check your cholesterol in your body. You have the LDL, so the low density lipoprotein, and the high density lipoprotein, HDL. That I will not ask you about. That's mostly for when you visit the doctor. Okay, so I will not talk about these ones. All right, so by doing this, we reach the end of chapter 5. Like you can see, it's a very short chapter, but it has tiny little things in it, and that will bring us to the end of this part, and I'll meet you again on the next one.